great. People are going to get excited, and then someone might approach you later on. We want to put a ballot measure on to increase the gas tax so that we can make improvements, and they're going to try to convince you to vote for it. Well, if people aren't informed, people are going to not support it, and yet they're going to be complaining, how come you don't fix these potholes? Well, where do you think we get the money from for that? So again, when people get involved in their local politics, they get to start understanding things a little bit more. I go to community meetings all the time, and people ask me, hey, how come we can't have a speed bump here on our street? And I say to them, okay, well, we can't just put a speed bump. We have to call for a traffic study. The traffic study can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000. We don't do it ourselves. It has to be based on the state of California. We have to follow California code. And people say, why do you have to do that? Why can't you just put that up there? Well, if we put a speed bump, or we put a stop sign, or we make a decision on the traffic flow, on the speed, without doing a traffic study, and someone gets injured, whether it's a pedestrian or a driver, the first thing that an attorney is going to do is say, well, let's take a look. City of Southgate, you put a speed bump out here. Can you show us the traffic study that indicated that that was the proper course of action? And we said, well, we didn't do a traffic study, it's just the residents wanted that. Well, you know what? We have a lawsuit in place here, and we lose in court. And so if people get involved in their local politics, they start realizing that council members, elected officials, have to follow certain rules. They have to follow certain laws. They can't just go out there and do, this is what my community wants, and because I want to get elected again, I'm going to do what they tell me to do. Well, if it's in violation of federal and state laws, you really just can't do that. And I think these are part of the things that people learn and experience when they get to go to council meetings, they belong to commissions, or they belong to committees that get properly informed. And I think it makes it better for everybody, a better understanding of how things are done.
And we'll be right back after these public service announcements.
Before any major rock artist or band recorded a note, they played live. The excitement, the energy that we heard on vinyl, on tape, from acrylic was merely imitating what we heard on stage. WPMD presents the greatest rock performers and the greatest performances on roadwork. Members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with concerts rarely, if ever, heard before. It's rock and roll as it was meant to be heard, live, on roadwork. Part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, only on WPMD on the net, where people make a difference.
Collections brings you the full scope of an artist's musical journey. His hits, flops, key album tracks, live performances, TV appearances, collaborations, demos, even unreleased music. All from members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's the most complete look of the greatest music talent you'll find anywhere. Collections. Part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on WPMD on the net, where people make a difference.
At any given moment, somewhere in America, a baby is taking a first step, a developmental milestone. But for too many parents, a baby's first steps aren't just a milestone, they're a miracle. These are the parents of babies who were born prematurely or with birth defects. It's a crisis affecting more than 500,000 babies in the United States each year. You can help them by joining volunteers like you who walk in March for Babies. The money you raise funds research and local programs that help babies overcome the challenges of premature birth and birth defects. Together, our steps make stronger, healthier babies a reality for thousands of families. Sign up today at marchforbabies.org to take the steps that help make milestones and even miracles possible. Who will you march for?
And welcome back to the Falcon Spotlight. I'm your host, Rob Flores, here at WPMD, located in Norwalk, California. And just a reminder, folks, I will be the MC at the Linwood Art Walk, March 5th. It'll be at the Ricardo Lara Linear Park, hosted by the Linwood Union, who's, most of the planning has been done by Commissioner Roland Becerra, who's, been very active in the city with his art and, communicating with various different artists and, teachers from the community. And actually, Roland, I think, what was it? This was a while back. He had like an art show at the, like a theater that's been closed down for quite some time.
Oh, at the, they're in Southgate?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that would be the Allen Theater. Oh, my goodness, yeah. I wish we could do something with that theater and kind of bring it back to life. It's still there. It's been there for many, many years. Yeah, we have a lot of talent there in the city of Southgate, and every so often they put on this art exhibit. And it's just there in the lobby area because the inside is gutted, so people really can't go in. But yeah, the Allen Theater tries to give young folks the opportunity to express their or show their artistic talents. And I'm amazed at a lot of stuff that I've seen because I've gone to those shows. And, I tell people jokingly that if you put a coloring book in front of me, I couldn't stay within the lines myself. And so how these folks do what they do is phenomenal. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for them to show off their talents, and I'm very proud of what they do there.
No, you mentioned a while back, Mr. Escalante. What's it like to know somebody that later on a movie was made after them?
It really is interesting because I remember I was at work at the post office, and my employees were taking a break, and a newspaper was laying on the table, and as I looked over to, I glanced at it, and I saw the picture, and I said, "What's Mr. Escalante doing there?" And what it was Edward James Olmos, not Mr. Escalante. And I said, "Oh my goodness, what's going on here? Are they making a movie of this guy?" And sure enough, it was letting people know that the movie was being made. And so I was very much intrigued. I really wanted to understand the story that they were trying to tell. And in a way, it kind of it made complete sense to me. But some of the people that see it might miss the message. And again, when I looked at the movie, a lot of folks probably thought it had to do with race, right? Here we have a high school in East LA with Latino, students taking a very difficult class, and people are suggesting that they cheated. Well, no, that wasn't the case. What happened, and it touched on it very briefly, but I got it. There's a scene where Edward James Olmos is playing, of course, Mr. Escalante, and he's talking to these people who are investigating, and he tells them, "Look, I'm their teacher, so I taught them all the same way, and so if they got the same right answers and the same wrong answers, it's because I'm the teacher and they all learned from me." And because I was an aide to him, I really knew what was going on. Mr. Escalante was a very smart man, but he was still just a man, which means that if he taught something and it was not 100% correct, that means that whoever was learning that part incorrect too. He rarely made a mistake because he was very good at what he did. But imagine now all these students going in taking the AP test, and they all get the same right answers. Why? Because he taught them all correct. And so when now they get to this question that he might not have taught correctly, all his students are going to get the same wrong answer on that one. So when someone pushed this button and they said, "Look, all these people are getting the same scores. They're getting the same right answers and the same wrong answers. They must have cheated. It wasn't that. It's just that he taught them right, and those things that he taught wrong, they learned wrong. And so I got it. And it was interesting to see, and the way he portrayed him in the movie is just how he was. He used to have in the classroom pictures. He was a big Laker fan, and of course me and him used to go at it because I'm a Golden State Warrior fan, yes. And so, you know, he had a picture of Jabbar, and there was a guy there by the name of Abernathy at the time, and he used to pronounce his name Abernathy. And so whenever we walked in the room, he would call us, Abernathy, come on in, Abernathy, or Kimo, siéntate, Kimo, and that sort of thing. I mean, it was, Edward James Olmos did a fantastic job. People don't really know just how much he nailed Mr. Escalante unless they knew Mr. Escalante, but he did a phenomenal job with him.
Did you get to chat with him, like visit the high school after you graduated?
I actually did a couple of times only, and that was because I had friends who were still at Garfield. And so let me give you a little bit of the history on that. When I took calculus in 1977, I think there were only 8 of us in the classroom. I was a junior and 7 seniors. Mr. Escalante is the one who convinced me to take calculus as a junior. I remember I was taking trigonometry and math analysis, and he says to me, "Hey, burro, you should take calculus next year." I said, I'm not a junior, I'm just a 10th grader. He says, "Well, but you're good at it." I said, "Well, yeah, but I don't want to go and take a class with all these seniors in there. They're gonna, treat me like the little brother or whatever. I don't want to be anybody's little brother." And he said, "No, burro, you should take it." So he convinced me to take it. So I took the class, and again, I was there, and there were 7 seniors and myself. And our teacher, Mr. Thacker, great teacher, very funny man. He made the class very enjoyable. But I think what was happening with Mr. Thacker is that Mr. Thacker was great to have, and if you wanted to take the class, you enjoyed it. Mr. Escalante, what he would do is when he took over, his goal was, I want everybody to take it. So he would encourage people, just like he encouraged me, he would encourage people to take the class. And when people would say, "Well, that's too hard," well, that's why you have to take it. Because you can show yourself and show others that you can do this. And so, again, in 1977, 1 calculus class, 8 students. That's it. But when Mr. Escalante took over, he had 4 and 5 classes of 30 and 40 students each. That's Mr. Escalante. And again, not to knock Mr. Thacker, because Mr. Thacker was great. He was a phenomenal teacher. I really enjoyed taking calculus with him. But Mr. Escalante, his goal was to motivate people to take the class. And I thought it was great. I had a lot of fun being with him. And I went back to tell him, "Hey, I've heard you got 4 classes now, or 5 classes with 20, 30 students." He said, "Yeah, people want to take calculus, and they're doing it." And I didn't go back too much after that. But I visited him a few times and congratulated him on his efforts. So I thought it was great.
And so the movie and everything, that's pretty cool to know somebody else in a movie.
Yeah, it was. And you know what? And it's interesting because, movies sometimes are made for just enjoyment purposes, but when they have a message like this, I think it adds a little bit more. And those of us that had the honor and were privileged to know Mr. Escalante knew that he actually could have made a whole bunch of money elsewhere because he was very good at what he did. He was great in math, and he wasn't afraid of being challenged. But he chose a career of being an educator. And I have two sisters that are teachers. My brother-in-law's a teacher. My daughter's a teacher. And, we take those positions for granted. I think they're so underpaid. You guys have fantastic staff here in Cerritos College, and I think that their salaries should reflect that. I think that when you go to a college, when you go to school, and the teachers are working as many hours as they can to try to provide the best education, and then they're not compensated properly, I think that's tragic. I think of kids who are going to school right now, and they say, what, I want to get a good job. I'm going to go to college all these years. I'm going to be in debt for such a long time. Books are very expensive. The amount of energy that it takes to get this degree, and then to get a job that doesn't compensate you, I think it's sad. I think it's tragic. I think they should be compensated properly. I think that when you consider, and again, I'm going by my experience with my sisters and my daughter. Might not be so much in college. I know that every other day a box of school supplies shows up in my house. My daughter will use my address for her supplies, and I'll tell her, honey, who's paying for this? She says, well, I am, Dad. The kids can't afford it. The school doesn't give me the money for it. I'll just use my own money for it. And that is the dedication that teachers show. Mr. Escalante, prime example of that. But again, as I'm here in Cerritos College, if there's any teachers out there, hey, I'm rooting for you. Your salary increase is okay.
Now, you mentioned you do a show. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so Mr. DeWitt and myself, and actually any one of the council members can do it. It's not like we are the ones who are assigned to this, but we like to give out messages of bits of information to our residents, and sometimes putting a program with information for our residents on cable. It meets our needs, what Mr. DeWitt and myself decided on doing is putting a show together, and we both have the time to do it, and we invite either for example, in Southgate we do business with waste management, and so we invite them over so that they can tell the residents what kind of services they provide and if there's any cost involved. So if you ask Mr. Bill DeWitt what the name of the program is, he calls it the Bill and Gil Show. But if you ask me, I call it the Gil and Bill Show, and I think that that's the fun that we have with it. But we enjoy having guests, just like you're having me here. I'm having a great time trying to give people as much information as to what our jobs are. But we try to give people information, and a lot of people have told us, hey, it was great. I didn't quite get all the information on the services provided by, let's say, waste management. I said, well, look, we have a disc that you can get. Go to City Hall and you can obtain the disc on that one particular show, and you could play it at home. And so people get very good information that helps them live in our community and benefit from all the services that are being provided.
Well, time has gone by so fast. However, for our audience who would like to get in contact with you, how can they get in contact with you?
Sure. So they can. We have a city webpage, so it's cityofsouthgate.org, and you'll see all the bios there on all the 5 council members, and you can reach any one of us at any time. We again have our meetings on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month. And they can come visit us there as well. If any students from here are taking the class and have to do some community service, they can go, visit us. We have some things that they can do. We have internships that we provide. Also, if people if they're taking a class in civics and want to do an assignment and their instructor sends them to our meetings, they're welcome to go there. Let us know that they're there for that reason, and we'll allow them to come to the mic and say whatever they want to say. ask us whatever questions they want to ask us. But again, we're very accessible. Our mayor, Jorge Morales, our vice mayor, Bill DeWitt, Councilwoman Maria Davila, and Councilwoman Maria Belén Bernal, who was recently elected 3 years ago. She's the baby of the bunch, but very good at what she does, and we all take a very active role in our community. So we're there. If people want to reach out to us, we're there.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to be here on the Falcon Spotlight. Ladies and gentlemen, remember you can tune in every Tuesday and Thursday to Falcon Spotlight. It's from 10 a.m. to 10:55 a.m. And you can look for the show on YouTube as well. You just look up the YouTube channel Linwood Rob Flores. You can also email me at robert06flores@gmail.com. Remember to like the fan page, Cerritos College Falcon Spotlight on Facebook. And until next time, folks.